bet. Well, thanks for being here. Everyone knows the news. Certainly disappointing, heartbreaking for our student athletes. This decision by the conference wasn't made without a lot of deliberation and a lot of discussion. I've seen way too much of my AD colleagues on Zoom calls over the last 3 months, but it has been good, open, honest discussion. This brings some closure. I think that's good. We at least now know where we're going and what we're doing, and so. But I'm disappointed. I love. We're here to talk about college football right now. We're holding off on volleyball, soccer, and cross country. But I love college football. I love being in this place on a Saturday afternoon, and I love watching these student athletes compete. But I'm hopeful for the spring. I'm hopeful for what that can become, and look forward to getting anxious. Was able to meet with the team today at 10, and just so impressed with this group of young men and their coaches. They bring me great hope for the future and their optimism and their dedication. So we'll look forward to spring, and we'll call on Grizz Nation to continue to support us and continue to be there for us like they've always been, and we'll move on.
I'm up. Okay, great to see everybody. I could read you guys a bunch of prepared statements off a script and hit all the popular bullet points like some schools do, but you guys know me. That's not my way. I prefer to be genuine and just, for the most part, tell you what I think. So Kent's now gasping. But, our players, our coaches, really probably the entire state of Montana are disappointed and frankly probably pretty depressed that we aren't playing. And, thanks to great effort by our players, by our medical staff, by our strength coaches, we've had an unbelievably good summer preparation for this what was to be this season. And we're ready to go. And as it turns out, we've got to delay that, which is too bad. But we'll be, when the time comes to play, we'll be ready. So, I'm really disappointed for everybody that's involved in Grizzly football, because there's a lot of rightfully so generated excitement about it. The effort level's been unbelievable by our guys this summer, as I said, as well as the medical people and the strength people that have gotten them ready. And to not be able to go is a really bitter pill, especially when you got a team that's as tight as this one is as well prepared as this one is, and loves each other as much as these guys do, and really enjoy being in the locker room or competing together. So without being able to do that, we'll take it as it comes and be ready to go when the time is right.
Hey, Coach, if the spring goes as planned, you're able to have a regular season and the playoffs and then go into 2021, just from a head coach perspective, do you think you can pull that off? And are you excited about that opportunity?
I think let's just talk about the fall and lack of it. I think we'll have a lot of time. We're going to have a whole lot of time, Sean, to talk about the validity of a spring season. And so let's, I'd just as soon, digest that a little bit before I said anything about it. And then we'll address that when the time comes, I think. Not trying to dodge you. I got some strong opinion on it. I want to make sure I'm right.
Coach, about Kent as well, about scholarships and let's say we play in the spring and also the seniors who are going to be graduating. Everything, they'll continue to be able to play. We'll have an extra year of eligibility. How will that work?
Well, the eligibility runs for an entire academic year, so there's no really issues with eligibility. For example, Sammy's eligible for the entire academic year, so don't have to worry about that. Scholarships, we will honor those scholarships. if there gets to be a point of opting out or not playing at all this year, then the NCAA set a pretty good precedence with the spring sports in extending that eligibility, and I'm confident that same thing would happen.
For each one of the players, start with Jace. What was your guys' reaction to this? Because like Coach said, you guys have been preparing a lot. So to know that it's at least delayed, what are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, going into fall camp, everything was so unknown. But I think everybody had like a idea that, I mean, it could happen. But we just kept preparing like it wasn't going to happen. But when Coach Hawk told us yesterday that they postponed it, I mean, I feel like every senior had the same reaction. It was pretty, shocking a little bit, and depressed because everybody wanted to play this fall, and we have a really good team, like Coach Hawk was saying. So, I don't know, it bummed me out. I know that. So,
I mean, you think about the work we put in starting in January, and just the endless hours that we commit to this game and to this university and just to everything that we put into this program. It's just tough that we're not going to get to see the fruits of that labor right now. It's like Coach Hawk told us this morning, or I think it was actually yesterday he told us this, but patience is a virtue. And right now, that more than any time, that is the most important thing. So we just really need to practice patience and just know that our time will come. And trust me, our time will come, and we will be ready when that time comes.
It's kind of building off that last one, but Coach Hawk talking about the exceptional team you guys had this year. You're a leader on the offense, you're a leader on the defense, both, preseason guys coming in, big favorites. Can you touch on the talent that you saw and the preparation? Is it hard to just all of a sudden shut it down when you're just continuously preparing for a fall season, and then you just find out on one day that it's over? And what were you guys excited about as far as the squad goes this year?
I'd say I was just excited to see us go. I mean, like I said, we put in the work every day. We work hard. We work tirelessly to be able to go out there and play the game that we love. So, I mean, everybody sees the talent. I mean, we don't have to tell you what kind of talent we got on this team to know that we were ready and we were going to be ready, and we're going to be good. But, I mean, like I said, patience is a virtue, and we're going to have to wait. But, I mean, whenever that time comes, we're going to be ready.
and yeah, I don't know, I've been here, 5 years, and this is probably the closest team we've had, I think, since I've been here. Like, everybody gets along pretty well, and we just all joke around and stuff. But, I mean, yeah, I was excited. We're a talented team at pretty much every position. So, in PRPs in the summer, it's fun competing against each other and getting after it. It just gave us a little taste of what this fall could have been like. But like Sammy said, patience is a virtue, so we'll go when we can.
All right, this question is for Kent. Kent, if I understand it correctly, there's a caveat within this that says that the 3 non-conference games could be played perhaps in the fall or the spring. How will that decision be made at the University of Montana, in particular, like the Missouri State game that is on the schedule for next month?
Actually, it's no longer on the schedule. So all three I've visited with all of the athletic directors of those 3 non-conference. Obviously, Central Washington was canceled earlier, but Morehead State and Missouri State are canceled. And we'll start working on other dates. I had great conversations with both of them. We don't anticipate any non-conference games in the fall. And there's a reason, because of right now how, especially in this stadium, part of it is the size of the groups that we can have. And a full football team exceeds that group number. So there's one. And then if you all saw the NCAA testing guidelines and the requirements now moving forward, making sure we're able to do those presents a logistical challenge as well. So we don't anticipate any non-conference contests. What fall will look like is still to be determined. I hate to even try and guess, but I would think there will be some version of spring ball in the fall with a limited number of practices and potentially, scrimmages. Could we have some scrimmages, do some things like that? We want to keep ourselves open to those things, but we're not playing Morehead State, Missouri State, or Central Washington. We are practicing flybys though for homecoming.
Real quick, when it comes to the practices that you have had, could you describe the testing that goes on? Because the one thing that football has over other sports is it's personal, lots of personal contact. So how do you deal with that on a testing measure?
Well, we've been running really, and I want to echo what Coach Hauk said about our medical staff. They have plowed brand new roads here. This has not been dealt with, and we were, as an athletic department, the first ones to deal with this. So I believe we've set a pretty good model for the rest of campus coming back and how we can handle it. We were a good test case for that. So we have really been screening, health screening, testing symptomatic, and that's really fallen in line with the county health guidelines, the state health guidelines. There is an expansion now of testing. I think you all saw that the state of Montana has given money to the university system to improve testing with them coming back, with students coming back on campus. We'll participate in all of those as well, which opens up that door for us to be able to increase our testing even for asymptomatic folks. But right now, really what we've done is done the health screening, the daily health screenings, and then when symptoms started to show, it's the testing, tracing, and isolation.
The Big Sky was kind of the first conference, Kent, to make this, and then the Missouri Valley said they'll try for the spring as well. What was the conversations like with all the other FCS conferences and trying to get everybody to kind of get on board, and hopefully you can have a season and even get playoffs in the fall possibly?
Well, I don't know if nearly those conversations were had, honestly. Those would have been had at the conference level, and I think you all were able to visit with the commissioner today. It is a matter of, this is at times a business of, okay, who's going to go first? But now, really, when you look at the numbers that are not playing in the FCS, it's pretty much now the FCS championship. That'll be a decision by the NCAA, but we've fallen below the 50%. I think the Big Sky was pretty strong in their statement today, and I'm sure Tom shared this with you, but now let's rally those FCS schools and get this to the spring. So I'm on that FCS championship committee. I remind folks, we really aren't the ones that set whether or not it's going to happen. You just tell us when it's happening, and then we'll execute it to the guidelines that you have. So we're going to meet again next week, and then we'll look for direction from the NCAA. So there's still a lot to be had. Kind of like what Coach Hauk said, we got a little bit of time to talk about spring and how that all looks. But I haven't tracked if the Missouri Valley and if others have followed suit yet.
Bobby, you've been coaching football for, I'm not really going to guess how long, but...
Not very long.
Obviously, without a football season in the fall, there's still a lot of stuff to do as a head coach, but kind of like, what are you going to do to take up the rest of your time from now on?
Well, as Kent mentioned, we'll have some football this fall in some form or fashion in terms of preparation, because as I spoke with our team, football is not over. Football's delayed. And so we need to be, and as Sammy mentioned and Jace has mentioned, we're pretty continuous in our preparation for whatever our next game is. And we're like the military. We believe in training. It's the reason why we're better than the people we go against, because we train hard. We train harder. We train better. We train. And so we'll train as a football team. Recruiting is nonstop, 365 days a year, so we'll have that. We also have development of our players that goes on in the classroom, in the weight room, personally. So that job is a 365-day-a-year job. So we'll be doing all that. The only thing is we won't see you all on Mondays and Saturdays.
Coach Hauk, I know that personally and professionally, it's a very disappointing reality now. But do you think that ultimately, with everything that it's the right decision, or no?
Well, I think it's disappointing. I mean, we put this is what we all do. We devote our lives to it at the current time. Players, coaches, strength coach, football training staff, the athletic director. I mean, everybody's invested in this around campus. So it is disappointing. As far as right or wrong, it's irrelevant what my opinion on that is because we ain't playing. So for me to sit up here and bitch and moan about it or cheerlead for it would be irrelevant. We ain't playing.
Sammy, it seemed like coming out of last year, an incredible amount of motivation for this team, especially your senior class. How does this add to that level of motivation? Like you said, patience is a virtue, but does this continue to fuel the fire for you and your fellow seniors?
Most definitely. I mean, like I said, when we put in the work, that just builds our motivation. That just builds our want to get out there and to show what we can do. Because, I mean, like Coach Chuck always tells us, I mean, nobody last year was satisfied with where we got. Nobody last year was happy with where we got. I mean, yeah, it was a step in the right direction, but we have way more work to do. And we know that the only way we can do that is by going out there to show people what we're capable of. We're not going to be able to do that by talking. We're not going to be able to do that by taking videos and all this stuff. No, the only way we can do that is going out there and beating people week in and week out. So whenever they give us the time to do that, whenever they give us the place to do that, we'll be there.
Coach Hawk, you're a firm believer of you only get better by playing, obviously. We've heard you say it multiple times. But do you think this ultimately hurts you guys or helps you guys more, obviously, with more time? But, yeah, ultimately hurts or helps the program more?
Well, it's a big question. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, I'll hit it a couple different ways. It doesn't help us in any way to not be playing. It doesn't help us from an attitude standpoint. It doesn't help us from moving the program forward standpoint. It doesn't help our university. It doesn't help the state of Montana or the community of Missoula in any way for us to not be playing. But, if I'm a guy coming off an ACL surgery, it probably helps me. So there's good and bad. There's right and wrong. I don't know where it all fits, but there's nothing real positive except for certain individuals to be drawn from not playing.
Bobby, you mentioned a couple times in the past about not having the players on campus during the spring. You saw it affect their mental health negatively. How do you think not having a fall season affects that, and how can that be managed or mitigated?
Well, we'll see. I know not being here with each other for numerous months this spring wasn't good for them. It's just not. It's not good for them from their physical well-being and not being able to train for their game, and it's not good for them mentally in terms of the isolation. It's just that's not how our guys are wired. In terms of this fall, there's not going to be right now, as the plan would go forth, that same type of isolation. And then the other part of that is we're well staffed, and Kent's done that's a fine. The Kent's done a great job developing our system to support our athletes in terms of mental health and mental well-being, and we're well staffed, and I think they'll be well supported this fall when they're on campus.
This is for Jason, Sammy, but obviously, again, the disappointment of not playing in the fall, but if you consider the fact that this extends your careers to a certain extent and you will be playing football longer duration with your team for over a longer period of time than otherwise would have been the case, and is that a silver lining at all to this?
I mean, ultimately, we want to be playing this fall. I mean, our fifth year, senior year. I mean, I don't think we really expected to play another sixth year, but hopefully the NCAA will grant us another year of eligibility, whatever the case that may be. But, I mean, and like Coach Hawk always says, we'll be ready whenever that time comes. So either way, we'll be ready.
And you guys are young, but who wouldn't go back to college for another year if they could?
Yeah, go back to school, get another degree.
Any of you? Yeah. push a button, send me back. Go ahead, Sam.
That's why we all work
Your
at
turn.
this, isn't
That's
it?
right. That's why we're still here.
Yeah.
Can't get rid of us.
Yeah, I don't think it's I wouldn't say it's like necessarily like a big positive that we were looking forward to, because obviously, like Jay said, we wanted to play this fall. But I mean, I'm never mad to be around my brothers for more time. I mean, I know I've heard stories of guys once they leave college, they're like, man, if I could just get one more weekend in the locker room, or one more month, one more practice, just anything. So I mean, from that standpoint, yeah, it's a silver lining, I guess you could say, in it. But like he said, we wanted to be playing this fall. That's what we trained for. That's what we practiced for. That's how our lives have been since we knew football. Since we knew. So I mean, it's just tough.
Bobby, from a logistics standpoint, will you continue to practice? Is there a way to transition this into sort of a pseudo spring ball in the fall, or how will the operation immediately work?
Yeah, well, as Kent mentioned, we don't know exactly. We're making some assumptions on what we'll be able to do this fall. There are a lot of paths or potential paths in front of us. We have no idea which one we're going to be designated to take at this point. That'll evolve. We could practice today. We're not going to. Like I said, we had a tremendous summer. We're ready to go. At this point in time, in any given year, you get to August, you're preparing for the first game. And I mean, our guys are in shape. They've been working. So I didn't see the great value in going out there and trying to get ready for an unknown opponent. I mean, for the first time in my life, I don't know who the next opponent is at any point in time. So, what I told them this morning is I said, hey, none of you guys and none of you coaches in your adult life and none of you players in your college career have ever had a day off in August. So go enjoy some summer for a week, and then we'll be back. School's going to start in a week, and we'll get back on it.
Sammy and Jace, like, would you guys rather try and play in the spring or just skip it and just play fall next year?
Sean, you got a story on spring games coming, huh?
Fans just want to see you guys. I think that's like the topic. Everyone wants to watch you guys play.
Man, I think if it was my decision, I'd say fall. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to play in the spring, but we don't make the decisions, so that's just my opinion. Yeah.
And I'm with Sammy. I mean, I don't know about the spring, but I mean, if it happens in the spring, then it happens. But I'm more for the fall. But
Thanks.
See you guys.